This is Senior Webcast, the COVID-19 Indiana County, episode 4. Today we're joined by Linda Mitchell, Executive Director of Downtown Indiana. How are you doing, Linda?
Very well. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So it sounds like we hear you just fine. I want to ask a little bit about your membership in downtown Indiana. I know your membership includes both businesses as well as individuals. How has your membership been impacted by the pandemic and the impacts of social distancing?
Well, obviously, it has had quite an impact on our downtown. As you know, most of our businesses, the vast majority, are small, independently owned, family-owned businesses. They don't have a large corporate structure to rely on. So they are closed by and large, except for our banks, our drugstores, and the restaurants. Many of the restaurants are still open. And they are just, unable, some of them, to be open, and that's really tough on them because they're not, huge corporations.
Mm-hmm. Right. What kind of supports are available for small business? I know we have on your website, there's you've got a couple of things in terms of the stimulus, in terms of some of the state legislation that's coming through. Are there supports for those small business, including the single proprietorships and the individual contractors that may be renting out space? Are those kind of supports available?
Yes. So there are a few things available through the Small Business Administration. There is a Paycheck Protection program, which I believe went live today. And so with these programs, everyone is trying to get out information as quickly as possible. But I mean, things are evolving and we're understanding new nuances about the programs daily. I was on a call yesterday at 5, and by the time I got on one this morning at 9, there were a few more things that we understood about this program. So that is something that is an SBA program, but you apply through a local bank. It has to be a bank that does small business loans for the SBA. So in Indiana, and there may be more of them, but First Commonwealth, InFirst, S&T all do SBA loans. You could check with your bank if you bank elsewhere to see if they are also taking part. And basically what you're doing is you're applying for what would equal 2.5 times your average monthly payroll.
Okay.
So you take your average monthly payroll, you times it by 2.5. That's what you're applying for through this. And the idea is that you will then keep your employees employed through, I believe, June 30th. So you'll use that for payroll purposes. And then if you do that, the loan should be forgiven.
So it's a sometimes we call those grants.
Yes, they're
Okay.
not using the word grant,
Okay.
but they're using the word loan. But there are some components of this and the other program I'll talk about, which are more like a grant.
Okay. So I want to just make sure I got it. The Paycheck Protection Program, it's a new program that launched today.
Yes.
And
Well,
small businesses.
the applications are out. So if you bank, wherever you bank, please check with your bank, because that's where you apply. You don't go to the SBA. You're going to apply through one of the SBA loan banks. So you'll fill out some paperwork, which I don't think is super complicated. I think the application is really about 2 pages, but you do need to provide some payroll information, and you do need to provide some other information, tax return information, your EIN number, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something you really want to go to the SBA website. SBA.gov is a good resource. The Pennsylvania Small Business Development Center is another great resource, and that is pasbdc.org. And they are actually right now, I was on one this morning, holding daily webinars about these programs and how you apply. So you want to go to their website, and then there's a training section, and you can sign up for the webinars. The one I was on this morning, they did record, and they did send out the recording and all the handouts. So if you can't get on one, please get in touch with me through Downtown Indiana, Linda at downtownindiana.org, and I would be more than happy to share those materials with you. Also, your local, as I said, your local bank would be a good resource. There's also an economic injury disaster loan that's through the SBA. That one you do apply through the SBA. And that one, you can apply for up to $2 million if you, that's a lot of money, but you don't have to apply for $2 million. You can apply for less, and you could ask for a $10,000 advance. And again, we're understanding that that advance will not need to be repaid. It will be forgiven. So it is more like a grant, but we're calling it a loan.
Can I specify, are small businesses of all size eligible for these grants?
They are specifically for small businesses. So I believe the cutoff is 500 employees. So I think they would, most of our downtown businesses would be under that umbrella.
Sure.
So yeah, there are some cutoffs, but it's fairly generous how they're defining a small business. Also, nonprofits are eligible for these. So nonprofits want to check into these as well. If you're a 501c3, you'll want to look into these programs. And again, they're through the SBA, so please visit sba.gov. Locally, the Center for Economic Opportunity, which is part of the county, is a great resource. And they're at indianacountyceo.com. So if you have questions and you'd prefer to speak to someone local who you might feel understands your business a little better, you'll want to reach out to them, to Byron Stauffer, who is the director of the Indiana County Office of Planning and Development. And he is he's just a font of knowledge about these programs. So he will help you as much as possible. But you want to get started on your applications now. They're supposedly releasing money very quickly. So you could have some money very quickly to help you get through with, whatever costs you might have, whether it's utilities, payroll, as I said, other things. You do have to track and record and show how you use the money. So there are some requirements, but you'll become aware of those through the program, and you'll want to be very careful with those because you are talking about federal money, and they do have some expectations about how you would spend that and how you would document it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, your organization is a resource for finding information, and there are webinars happening. I think even through the Indiana County Chamber of Commerce, I've seen some webinars that they're putting on as well. If folks want more information, there seems to be a lot out there.
Yes, there is. The Chamber is another wonderful resource. Mark Hilliard and Jill Mountain are doing a great job of keeping everyone up to date in the business community. So you'll want to visit their website. Just today, they sent out information about a webinar in partnership with the Allegheny Conference. So there are a lot of webinars, a lot of things going on where you can get information. So you'll want to look at all of those and see what's right for you. There are plenty of people out there trying to help, trying to shepherd people through the process. So, please, if you think you qualify, look into these programs because they are meant to help at this time. And there's also through the Department of Community and Economic Development, a working capital access loan. And that is the CEO and the Southwestern Pennsylvania Corporation are working to underwrite those loans. So again, you'd want to reach out to the CEO and see if that program is right for you. But I would definitely Paycheck Protection Program and EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loan, are two that you want to look into.
EIDL. Okay, great. Thank you. Those are fantastic resources. It seems like they are out there. Let me ask about, in our community, there are also a lot of folks who work for these small businesses who are currently out of a job. Are there supports that are out there for our servers who are, right now, today or yesterday, probably trying to pay rent with what was not likely any kind of a paycheck that they're used to? What kind of supports are there for our local servers and bartenders and waiters that we know?
I think there are some supports that are available to everyone. I know they are doing some things with unemployment, and I'm sure Senator Pittman can speak more eloquently on that as far as fast tracking claims and making it maybe a little bit easier, forgiving some of the requirements like job seeking because it's just not a good time to look for a job. They're also supposed to open up applications to folks that are self-employed, that they would be eligible for unemployment. I don't believe the application is ready yet.
Okay.
But again, Senator Pittman may be able to speak to that timetable a little bit more.
Okay.
Locally, we've set up a virtual tip jar, which is available on our website, downtownindiana.org. And you can sign up if you're a server out of work. And if you have a favorite server or somewhere you normally would be going to get your coffee or pizza or whatever you normally would be doing, your bartender, you can look on that spreadsheet and see if they're on there, and you can Venmo or PayPal them a tip, a virtual tip. So can kind of help them out a little bit. We have had a lot of people sign up for it. These are all folks that are normally relying on tips, and they're in the service industry, whether they're salon workers, bartenders, wait staff, etc. So if you do frequent places and you have some folks who've been really good to you providing service, go on there and if you can, send them a virtual tip.
Yeah, I think that's a great resource. I think there's a lot of folks here in town that do indeed go out to eat and are trying their best. The other spreadsheet that I know you are maintaining is the businesses that are open for business. You're keeping that current? Can you talk about that one?
Yes, and I will add that to our webpage, but it is pinned to the top of our Facebook page. And it is also, you'll see it on Indiana County Shop Local, which is another Facebook group. And we work very hard to keep that up to date as much as we get information in. And that is a listing of who's doing delivery, takeout, are they doing full menu? How can you get in touch with them? Where can you see their menu? What are their hours? A lot of the businesses have abbreviated their hours. So if you want to, click on that and just see who's open and when they're open and how you can order, you can still support our local restaurants. Many of them are doing takeout. Many of them are doing carry out. They're doing, no contact delivery if possible. I know they're all exercising great caution and trying to, follow guidelines and practice social distancing while still staying in business.
So I think the Eat Local advice is there to go to the open spreadsheet and find your favorite restaurant who's practicing good social distancing and order your dinner from there, and then go to the virtual tip jar and try to remember who your normal server is and tip them the same way you would have tipped them as if you were going in, because I know there are a lot of folks in town, young folks in town, who really make up a lot of the fabric of what makes Indiana great, and a lot of them are really struggling. They've reached out and they're a little worried. I think there are those supports for them, but that virtual tip jar is a great thing. If we can start a thing, we should start Eat Local Friday, right? And everybody should make sure they eat all their meals out on Fridays. I know a couple of families have been doing that. Sure, at the end of the week, right, and tip. Linda, is there anything else you want to share with us in terms of what's happening with downtown Indiana as we are sort of facing this?
I would just encourage people to follow our Facebook page and also any of the Facebook pages of the businesses that you normally do frequent. We're trying to share as much information as we can. Some of the businesses do have online options. You can go online and shop. Some of them offer gift cards that you could order a gift card now and use it later. And a lot of them will work with you. If you are someone who frequents a certain shop, reach out to them via Facebook, via texting, call them and leave a message. If you know something, say you wanted to ship an Easter gift to someone, they'll definitely work with you and help make that happen, even though they're not open and you maybe don't have the traditional shopping experience. They will go out of their way to accommodate their customers.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Will you come back again and tell us what's happening next week?
Absolutely. And I'd love for you to have one of our local business owners on to talk about it from their perspective.
So that's the hope. This Sunday, I think our next show, actually, we're going to try and turn out a few folks. A lot of the local businesses that we didn't talk about here, I know they've been really generous in with their money and their food, and are giving away food for a lot of folks who need it, and have been setting up delivery services, socially distant delivery services, have been very, very responsive. It's one of these things that makes Indiana so great, is we have these local businesses that really care about our community.
They do. They've been generous in offering, free meals, spaghetti vendors, Romeo's. Some of the other folks have been offering meals to people who need them. They've been donating to the food banks. Twisted Jimmy's and Steel City Sandwiches donated hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds of food to the food bank. So they have really stepped up.
We do have I think we have a good community. Thank you so much, Linda, for joining us. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Jessica Dean.
Great.